Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Stop Business Workshop. My name is Shabnam Rezae. I am co-founder of Big Bad Boo Studios, where I produce TV shows for kids. I will be your moderator, and for our blind and partially sighted participants, I am of Iranian heritage with black hair to my shoulders. I am wearing glasses and a pink and black top. Today's session is about pitching to create kids content. And our panelists are Marie McCann, Senior Director, Children's Content, CBC Kids. Erica Shallow, she's Senior Manager, Development Live Action from Nelvana. Then we have Kirsten Hurd, Commissioning Editor of TVO Kids. And then Katie Wilson, VP of Channels and Global Acquisitions from WildBrain. By the end of this session, you will learn what our panelists are looking for, how to position yourself to pitch to them, and ideally, how to pitch your ideas to them. Stick around to the end of the session for audience Q&A, where you get a chance to ask questions using Zoom Q&A or the YouTube live comment section. If you aren't able to get your question in, we will try our best to provide some information via email follow-up after the session. Please also note that ASL closed captioning and French translation are available on Zoom, and for YouTube, we have ASL and closed captioning. Before we start with our presentation, we wish to acknowledge those Indigenous nations on whose lands we live and work, as well as the treaty territories, the unceded territories, and nations from coast to coast on which we conduct our daily business. And with that, I'm going to start and ask everyone to just give us a round of descriptions on what they look like and also what they do. Let's start with Marie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marie McCann. I'm I guess a middle-aged white woman with short, dark hair. My haircut, some people say it's kind of cute. And I'm wearing a yellow shirt and I have pink lipstick and earrings on.
And Marie, tell us one or two sentences about what you do at CBC.
Well, I oversee the creative teams who create the in-house digital content at CBC Kids, as well as the television programming that we do in-house and along with independent producers right across the country.
Wonderful. We're going to go to Erica next.
Hi there, I'm Erica Shallow. I am a Black woman with long dyed hair and red lipstick. I am wearing a black kimono jacket with some colors on it, and I have a plain white background behind me.
And Erica, tell us what you do, one or two sentences.
Okay, so I am the Senior Manager of Live Action Development at Nelvana. So I work with writers in development, engaging them, working through the creative process, as well as into production.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Kirsten, you're up next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kirsten. I am also a middle-aged white woman with shoulder-length blonde hair. I'm in my office here at TVO with the red wall and some posters, and I'm wearing a denim jacket and a green shirt. And I am the commissioning editor at TVO Kids. That means I'm in charge of all programming on our channel and suite of YouTube channels, all originals as well as acquisitions.
Thank you for that, Kirsten. And last but not least is Katie from WildBrain.
Hi, hey everyone. I'm Katie Wilson. I am at my home office. I'm sitting here with a black and white blurred out wall. I'm a Caucasian female in my 40s. I've got just past shoulder length blonde hair with bangs, and I'm wearing a black and white sweater. And my role at WildBrain, I am the VP of Channels and Global Acquisitions. I sort of wear two hats at WildBrain. I oversee our linear channels. We have 4 channels here in Canada, so I do commissioning and acquisitions and scheduling across our linear channels. But I also work really closely with our content and distribution teams at WildBrain to source out third-party content and look for any co-production opportunities to bring into the WildBrain family.
Fantastic. So let's get this party started. I thought I would first start with just some short questions from all of you for our audience so that they can find out the types of things that you're looking for. So I'm going to go around the room one more time and ask for the genres and the formats that you look for, examples of those genres and formats, and to tell me if there's a time of year that you particularly take pitches, or do you take them all year round? Marie, let's start with you. Oh, I think you might be on mute. I'm sorry.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, CBC Kids. We are always looking for high quality preschool. That we call that ages 2 to 6. We do entertain some formats that are for the younger end of that group, as well as for the more bridge preschool age target. We do have a commissioning stream for CBC Gem for tween titles. That's for kids 9 to 10, 9 to 12. We've recently released a scripted series called Gangnam Project, which is a K-pop series we're quite excited about. We have in the past done quite a bit of development for this age group. We're going to pause for about 6 months, we think, on taking new pitches in this age group, because we currently have quite a bit in development. So right now, for independent producers, preschool is the bread and butter that we're looking for.
Fantastic. That sounds good. Let's go to, I believe, who's next? Erica is next.
Hi there. So the age range that we look for in the live action department for Nelvana is, like Marie was saying, tweens and then older YA. So 9 to 12-ish, and then, you know, around 13 and up to like early 20s. But it's the main focus right now is older YA. We have a couple of tween projects on the slate. Yeah, so that's what we're
Great.
basically looking
And
for.
YA, for those who may not know, is young adult, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Young
Okay,
adults.
perfect. Thank you for that.
And in terms
Kirsten,
of
what
like the
about you?
time of
Oh,
year,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
Skipped over
In terms
that.
of the time of year, it's year round that we do take pitches and submissions. The only I would say blackout window would be July to September, because it's potentially could get lost, but it's generally year round.
Yeah, fantastic. Year round. Kirsten, what about you?
Hi. So we at TVO Kids technically cover from anywhere from preschool up to grade 6, but really our sweet spot is around kids 2 to 8. We look for a mix of live action and animation pitches, and really any length in program as well. We commission shorts all the way up to half-hour long episodes. And then in terms of time of year, really we take pitches all year round. I would agree with Erica. The summer is just tends to be a bit of a dead zone because a lot of people are away, but really think about sort of the general market circuit. So October is a busy time with MIPCOM, February is a busy time with Kidscreen, and then kind of all year around those dates.
That's a really great point. MIPCOM is on October. It's a big conference where everyone gets together and a lot of people are pitching. And Kidscreen, of course, is in February. So a lot of people are gearing up towards that date. So a lot of the independent producers are working the months before those to get their pitches ready. So those are good sort of months to have in your mind when you're thinking about the cycles of one full year. Katie, what about you?
Yeah, so because we have 4 channels that we commission for, we are really looking for content that spans from preschool all the way up to teen tween. And I would say right now our big focus is on shared family viewing, co-view, whatever, 4-quadrant, whatever you want to call it. That's a really big focus for us. We take live action animation pitches, and we're right now, because we've seen some success in the comedy space, we've really tried out some more comedy in our primetime blocks with some acquisitions. Comedy is a focus for us. We also are looking for preschool, more so in the bridge side. So looking for content that sort of feels in between that, lower preschool and maybe 6 to 11. That's been working really well for us on Family Junior, which is our preschool channel. And in terms of time of year, I agree with everyone. I think we take pitches all year round. I think as Canadians, we're always mindful of funding when funding opens up. So CMF being one of them. I think if you're a Canadian producer and you've got a piece of Canadian content you want to get in there, it's better for, at least for our timelines, is really get something in front of us in the fall ahead of the new year, so that it doesn't feel last minute and you're sort of top of mind when that funding kind of opens up in the spring.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That was the next thing I was going to bring up, is the CMF envelope. Most of us are Canadian producers that are looking to tap into that with our broadcast partners. And so the idea there is to pitch in advance. So let's say you're going for next year's envelope. You want to be preparing yourself the year before, because some broadcasters might already be lining up their envelopes for the next year. So that's a really great point. So spring and fall, those are kind of what you want to go one to the other, and think about those things. Katie, since I have you unmuted, let's start with you on the next question, which is what types of experience and or credits does a person need to have a successful pitch, if any? What do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, we take unsolicited pitches at WildBrain. We we are really flexible in terms of what we're looking for. Of course, if you come with, some history of success or some really well-known talent attached, that certainly helps get your foot in the door. But we don't have any, prerequisites in terms of what your credits are, or if you bring, I always say good ideas are good ideas and they can transcend pretty much anything. So while it certainly helps, if you have a, history of success, or you've got some, great resume in the kid space, that definitely gets your foot in the door, but it's not 100% mandatory when you're pitching with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to work us backwards, because I want to ask everyone that question, what their thoughts are. So, Kirsten, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Katie, we take pitches from everybody with sort of varying levels of experience. I would, at TVO Kids, we're always looking to work with emerging producers, especially from underrepresented groups. So that's always a very big focus for us. And I would say, if we get an amazing pitch from someone who is just, one individual, the suggestion would be always to partner them, or to have them look for a more established producing partner who maybe is interested in working with them in order to bring the show to life. Because, a big, producing an entire series is a very heavy lift for one person. You often need, that engine working behind you. Even just to do the paperwork alone on a Canadian series can be very overwhelming. So that would be my suggestion. But we take pitches from all levels. We take pitches from the biggest companies right down to, individuals that just have the beginning of an idea on paper.
Yeah, fantastic. I totally hear you. It is a lot of paperwork to submit to, if you are going for the CMF envelopes. You need a team behind you to get all the documentation in place, the budgeting, the scheduling, all of that. I hear you. Erica, what about you?
I'm gonna echo the same sentiments as Katie
Yeah.
and Kirsten as well. It's the same. Like we'll take the full gamut of experience. Obviously, if you come from a bigger production company, or you're a big showrunner, that will help get you through the door a lot faster. But like was said before, a good idea is a good idea, or a great concept is a great concept.
Yeah, fantastic. Marie, how about you? Are you what types of pitches are you looking at, and a lone producer versus production company? Talk to us a little bit about what everyone else has been talking about.
Absolutely. I'm actually so glad to hear what I'm hearing from all my fellow panelists here. We do the same thing, especially CBC being a public broadcaster. We review all the pitches that are sent to CBC Kids, usually over 1,000 a year. And we're definitely looking for voices that have not been represented yet. We're excited to tell stories about kids and families in Canada, and we feel the best way to do that is to to really look for those voices and talent, and sometimes help develop them through development. We do more development, we do a number of development projects. They don't all go through, but we feel that through this process, we're getting to know the creative community and hopefully, helping to contribute to the sort of creative talent here in Canada. It's really important that we support and elevate creatives here.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And it's so great to have access to you guys to be able to ask these questions. So I want to thank the organizers for putting this together, because I know how hard it is to get in front of major decision makers, and you all are very important in the kids space. And to be able to pick your brain today is an absolute privilege for me and for those who have tuned in. I want to get a little bit into what you referred to, Marie, in terms of like your involvement with, the whole process. Let's say I came to you and I am a lone producer and I don't have a company behind me, and you like the idea. What would be the next steps? Maybe take that even a step further and talk to me about your process, whether it's development and on to production.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a one size fits all process, but essentially, you pitch it to us. CBC Kids has an amazing content team. We all work as a group, looking at the materials together. We track creatives that we're seeing. Sometimes a pitch when you come in might not be right for us, but we see something exciting about what's in it, and the next time you pitch, we've already been introduced to you. So I think our process involves, if we do put something into development, if you're a first-time producer or first-time creative, sometimes we'll help pair you up with supports, either story editors, or help pair you up with producers who may want to take on the project with you. At that point, we usually set out a small development, usually on paper, and try to get scripts that make sense, try to work on format. And then we can do other levels of development, especially if it's an animated series that can take sometimes up to 4 or 5 years to develop, believe it or not. So I think you've got to have a lot of patience, and you've got to be willing. I think if you want to make a show with a place like CBC or CBC Kids, you've got to be able to collaborate and trust that other partners might be in and involved with your idea. I hope that makes sense.
That makes total sense. And I've been through this process myself. So I'm sitting over here nodding, but I'm also taking notes because everything that you're saying is so valuable. I do want to go around and ask the others the same question about your involvement, about development, about production. Kirsten, let's go to you for that now. And you tell me how you guys do it at TVO Kids.
Sure. So we develop probably between 3 and 5 projects per year. We are definitely way more limited in the amount of development that we do and the amount of resources we have to put towards development. All of our development is generally CMF funded. So half the license fee comes from TVO and then half from CMF. So really we're only developing projects that would eventually be eligible for the CMF broadcaster envelope, either the next year or a couple of years later, depending on the scope. But generally, we oversee or are involved in the entire process of development. Depending on whether it's live action, animation, there's different deliverables for each of those kinds of shows. Sometimes if it's an unscripted series, part of that development would be doing initial casting. If it's an animation, then sometimes it may be visual development and script writing. Every show is a little bit different. And then generally the hope is that we are able to greenlight as many of those projects as possible the following year or, in a year or two when they get their funding. And that's generally how it works. Animation, as Marie said, does take a lot more time and is a lot more difficult to finance. So we are just cognizant of not putting too many of one genre into production or into development at any given year, just because then we get a glut of too many animated series that aren't able to find their financing. So we just balance that a little bit with the unscripted and live action side as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So generally, and I know I'm generalizing, the production budgets for live action shows are lower than those for animation. And generally, it does take longer to raise the funding you need for animation. So that's why you're telling us about the balance that you have in the development pipeline, so that that is then offset in the following year or the year after when you decide to go into production. Thanks for that. What about you, Erica? How do you go through the development process with a new person who's pitched you an idea, and what does that track look like?
Okay, so initially it would start with acquiring the property. So if it's book-based, we'd get an option on the book, or if it's concept, we would acquire that. And then if the person's a writer, then we would engage them as a writer. If not, we would start the writer search to find the correct writer, or the writer that matches the project the best. And we negotiate and contract them. And then we start into development. We'll engage for usually like a pilot and a Bible script, for example, maybe a pitch deck. And then we work together collaboratively with the writer and the team to make sure that the creative shines and it gets where it needs to get. And then we will pitch as well. So yes, Nelvana is associated with Chorus Entertainment. We're part of the same family, but we also pitch outside. So for example, our show, The Hardy Boys, was on Hulu. We have another show that we have with YTV called Geek Girl, but it's also on Netflix worldwide. So that would be the process once we've pitched and we've sold it to an outside network. Then we go into like a writing room, and then into production, and then to screen. So that's the basic life cycle.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Erica. For those who don't know, who are maybe new to this, TVO Kids and CBC Kids are both broadcasters, whereas Wild Brain and Nelvana, and please correct me if I'm wrong, are more production houses that then go to broadcast. So in the case of Erica, when she said, I would need to own the IP, so if you are pitching to her and they love the idea, they would then bring that in-house and develop and produce that, at Nelvana. Katie, do you want to talk a little bit about your process as well at Wild Brain?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so from the television side, so from the family channel side, it's very similar to Kirsten, actually. So we develop usually about 2 to 3 projects a year, and we really see it through from start to finish. So I would say it was pretty much the same process and cycle that Kirsten was describing. And then similar to Erica, just to give you a sense of it, I mean, we obviously have our channels, but Wild Brain, we're a global company and we have our channels here in Canada, but we have a really fantastic content and development team that's headed up by Steph Betts. So when we are looking at IP and ideas, Marie said it best. It's really, there's no one right way to work. It's there's so many different ways that we work with producers and creators, and every single idea that we're pitched is different. So we approach it differently. So there's a bunch of different entry points that you can work with Wild Brain as a company. And Obviously, on the TV side, we have our own unique process on how we develop shows and work with producers, but we also have the broader WildBrain team that has a really amazing content team and amazing development team that can work very similar to what Erica was saying in terms of what they look at.
Great. Thank you for that. I'm really cognizant of time. I know that, we're trying to fit in a lot of information into this session and try to get all the all the questions answered. So before I move on, and while I have you, Katie, tell us how a person might get their pitch to you or get in front of you. What's the best way?
Well, there's so many different ways. Obviously, I try to attend all the major markets. We mentioned Kidscreen on earlier, which is a big one for me and one of my favorite markets to actually meet producers and creators face to face. But if you, again, I mentioned we take unsolicited pitches. We have just a general submission email called tvsubmissions@wildbrain.com. And that is the best way to get your content in front of us. And it's general, but there's about 3 or 4 people within the company that review and vet all of the content that's coming in. And from there, they'll assess who's the best person to look at it from within the company. So it's a much more efficient way, because I recognize that because WildBrain's such a big company, it could be confusing on who you should speak to first or bring your idea to. So I would say that's the best way to get your foot in the door. And then just to say on that note, I always advise anyone who's going to pitch us to read the room. So to really take a couple minutes, like really look at what we're all about as a company, get to know the genres and the type of content we have, especially on the TV side, and listen. When these panels are great because you can get a sense firsthand of what everyone's looking for. And if they're saying like, I'm not looking for this, but I'm looking for that, that'll give you a little bit of an advantage to try to get to the top of the pile if you know that your IP or your idea fits that. So yeah, read the room is what I always.
That is great advice. Thank you for that. Erica, same question to you. We have like 3 minutes to get through all of you. So maybe keep your answers to a minute for me.
Okay, so definitely the best way to get to us is if you see us at a market or, there's appointments for pitches. Definitely agree with Katie, read the room, understand what the company is looking for. And then we also have like a submission email address for Nelvana, which is nelvanasubmissions@chorusent.com.
nelvanasubmissions@chorusent.com. Okay, we're going to make sure we type that up and put it somewhere so that people have it. Marie, what about you? I'm jumping around so that you guys don't fall asleep on me. No, I'm only kidding. You're not falling asleep. Marie, you're next.
Thanks, Shabnam. Okay, kids pitch at cbc.ca. Kids pitch at cbc.ca. That is definitely the doorway to getting your show looked at. But there's many windows, and reaching out to execs on the CBC Kids team, meeting us at conferences. We're actually going to be holding, I hope I'm not spilling any secrets. We're going to hold an open house in June as well, a virtual
You're
one.
supposed to spill your secrets here.
Okay, I'm spilling tea.
Yes,
we're going to have an open house as well, and just absolutely figure out what CBC Kids is all about before you pitch, but don't be afraid to introduce yourself with work you already have, especially if you're a new creator. We want to know who you are.
Fantastic. And Kirsten, what about you?
So very similar to the other panelists, we have a general submissions email, which is tvokidsubmissions@tvo.org, which is a bit of a mouthful, so I'm happy to type that out if anybody needs it.
Repeat it one more time and a little bit slower, thanks.
Yeah, so it's tvokidsubmissions@tvo.org. So that is our general mailbox. We evaluate all the projects that come in as a team. We have a monthly submissions meeting where everybody on the TVO Kids team gets to look at everything that comes in. We are pretty small, so we can do that. And then, like everybody else said, at markets is also a great opportunity, but recognizing that those are very cost prohibitive, especially for up and coming producers. So really, open to in-person meetings if you are in Toronto. If you are on, doing a pitch on Zoom, that is also great. But the submissions email is really the best way to get in touch.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to move us into the Q&A with the audience. We have a plethora of questions that have come in, and I want to move us quickly through them so that hopefully we can answer all of them. We have a question from Alex who wants all of you to answer. So just go through the room in the order you were introduced. Do any of you commission documentary or factual content for kids? And if so, what kind? I'm going to start with Marie.
Yes, of course. CBC Kids is here to entertain, enlighten, and inform kids. So we're certainly open to factual content, especially though in the preschool space, it's got to be age appropriate. And we are looking for repeatable formats that are fun and really fun first.
Amazing. Who was next? Was it Erica? Erica, you want to give us your answer?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah. The question was if you would commission documentary or factual content for kids, and if so, what kind?
No, most of the content that we work on at Nelvana is scripted.
Great. So fiction, we got the answer. Let's go to Kirsten next.
Hi, so we actually do quite a lot of unscripted content for kids because we are an educational broadcaster. A lot of our programming in the school age area is actually unscripted. We have shows like Sunny's Quest, we have Dream It to Be It, we have Green Squad, we have a number of unscripted programs. So we are always looking for unique ideas that bring, unique perspectives to our audience.
Okay, and Katie?
Yeah, so I would say from the documentaries point of view, we haven't done typically in the past a lot of doc commissioning. We're just dipping our toe in the water with our first one. We're doing a Degrassi documentary, which I'm really excited about. But I mean, for unscripted, absolutely, it's something we look at. We've had quite a bit of success across our channels with some unscripted. We entertainment first on our channels. I mean, we've got CBC and TVO and Knowledge that really do the educational content so well. So we're more looking for entertainment engagement first over anything too heavy on the educational side. Not to say we don't want kids to learn, but we've got channels that are doing it really well.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a great answer. Question number 2 is from Joshua. He says, studios and producers love established IPs, understandably, but there seems to be some understanding that original content is where the next big IP comes from. How open is your studio or company to original content versus IP at the moment? Why don't we start with you, Katie?
Yeah, known IP is like the big buzzword that you hear everywhere these days. Everyone's looking for known IP, and it's for good reason. I think, while that's a big focus for us. Obviously, we have really big brands with Strawberry Shortcake and Peanuts and Sonic and Teletubbies. But on the TV side, to speak specifically to that, we're open to original ideas. I mean, I always say, how are you going to find the next Bluey or SpongeBob? Or, if you don't keep your minds and your doors open to all of that. Known IP definitely has a place for sure. It helps drive audiences and especially in a really tough market in the linear space where kids are hit with just so much content on so many platforms. But we're very open to hearing new and original ideas.
Great. What about you, Erica?
I would say both, just like Katie, like we're open to new ideas, but we're also very open to the known IPs and the book-based content, because there is like a guide already when you have a book or you have a series that you can produce.
Amazing. Kirsten, what about you?
Yeah, I think similar. Book-based properties are always of interest to TVO kids, especially, if it is a book that maybe is available in schools or that kids are reading, or a series that kids are in Ontario specifically are well aware of, just because it does come with a built-in audience. It often may have a built-in look or recognizable feel. I think though we do a lot of original ideas. On the unscripted or scripted side, we are looking at, is there a particular YouTuber that maybe has an amazing educational YouTube channel that, we could build a show around. So that's not necessarily IP, but, a character that may already be coming with, or a person that maybe already has a built-in audience that we can build off of and create something original around.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you for that, Marie.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Kirsten said. Discoverability is huge. It's really, we're doing over 52 hours of original Canadian content per year. Trying to get eyeballs onto that content is a real challenge. And sure, big brands really help us attracting kids to our platforms. But if you've got something that's current, it's a special interest of kids, there's already community around it, that's something that can help just drive the discoverability of a show very well. At the end of the day, when we make a show today, it's for kids in 3 years. So we have to make sure that we're constantly emptying our buckets and allowing sort of new ideas and fresh thinking to come in because we have to keep up with kids who are maybe the fastest changing audience on the planet.
That's so true. That's so true. And the formats and the platforms where they are reached is also always changing. So that's what we all have to keep up with. We have a gazillion questions coming in, and I know I'm not going to get to all of them. And I just want to say apologies to everyone out there. We are taking down all the questions, and you will get answers once this is over. So do not despair. We are recording all of the questions. Let's get to the next one, which is, what about American producers with content that they're hoping to pitch? I think just one person could answer this. Marie, do you want to just go ahead and give us that answer?
Sure thing. We work on projects with American producers all the time. I suggest you go through American broadcasters or streamers first if you want to get a project made. It's not likely that we'll develop an American project from the ground up. However, we have in the past, with exceptional cases, backed original American content like Molly of Denali, which originally was pitched to us by WGBH, and we did it with PBS because we felt that there was a massive connection there with Indigenous people in Canada, and we wanted to be part of it. That was an original American production that we did do development on. But yes, I would say it's more likely that we would partner with American shows that were already being produced in the States rather than us developing it from the ground up.
Yeah, I feel like I need to hear everyone's answer because yours was very specific. So Erica, what would you say to that question?
I would say that we would take American pitches, but you have to also remember, like Marie was saying, that we are tied to a Canadian broadcaster. So the chances of something getting developed that's American are probably not as likely as Canadian content because we have certain rules around what we can fund and how it's funded as well.
Great. Katie?
I'm going to be succinct in my answer here and say a mix of what Marie was saying and also what Erica was saying about being tied to obviously Canadian broadcaster. So yeah, very similar answers.
Okay, Kirsten?
For development, no, not really, because all of our development is CMF funded. So generally the projects have to originate in Canada. If we are looking at an American property that we really like that maybe already has a broadcast home on PBS, for example, that would be where we would look at more doing a pre-buy deal. So just coming on as a pre-acquisition or an early acquisition. It's not a lot of money, but sometimes it can be a little bit to help you finish the financing. But generally, no development on American.
Great. And just to attach to that, Kirsten, while you're talking about that, there was a question from Brenda that says, what is the CM envelope? I think she means the CMF envelope. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, it's my favorite topic. No. So the CMF envelope, or the CMF, is the Canada Media Fund. And that is a big, bucket of money that gets divvied up among all of the Canadian broadcasters, and then those broadcasters are put it towards projects that they want to work on. At TVO, for example, we get a fairly small envelope because we are a small channel, and that envelope gets divided fairly equally between kids and then documentary. And so with my CMF envelope, I'm usually able to fund between 6 and 8 projects per year. And that is a combination of CMF funding and license fee from TVO.
Okay, great. So that's the CMF envelope. You can Google it online, just put CMF and it'll come up. And then you can go through all the programs and see what's available. Next question is from Tyson. Says, greatly helpful to hear from each person. What length of runtime of content is each one ideally looking for? Short form, 22 minutes, thoughts on web series. Let's do a flash round here. We'll start with you, Kirsten.
Yeah, so we commission or acquire anything from, we have a show that's actually 45 seconds long called Teeny Tiny Stories, which was a TVO Kids original, right up through to specials. We usually acquire anything that's over half hour. We don't really we don't usually make anything over 22 minutes a TVO Kids original just for scheduling purposes, but we do buy the odd special. So really the sweet spot, I would say things are getting shorter. I think now we don't even see a lot of 11-minute preschool shows. They are generally 5 to 7 minutes. And then, 11 minutes for a school age show. It is actually now fairly rare even to get 22-minute series, especially on the animation side. There are still a few. Wild Kratts is an example that still is 24 minutes and still does really well for us. Even on the unscripted, most of those are sitting in the 11-minute space as well.
Yeah, great. And Erica, what about you?
I would say the sweet spot would be 22 minutes, which is a broadcast 30 or an 11-minute for us for the kids content.
Thank you. Katie?
Yeah, similar to Kristen, for preschool, 7s and 11s work really well for us. And then for kids, animation, live action, 22s and 11s are what we're looking for. I mean, we'll look at everything. One thing that we're not focused on right now is short form content, just because we have quite a bit on our slate. So our current needs are in a little bit more longer form.
Great. Marie?
We're also looking at 11s, 7s, shorter in some cases, sometimes because of funding. But this is mostly in the preschool space. Our tween commissioning for GEM, we look for under 15s, limited series. So shows like Macy Murdoch, Detention Adventure. The exception is we did do the 30 minutes actually with Gangnam Project, but we're currently not accepting submissions for 30-minute series.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question is from Maria Christina, and she has a question for me. So there. Does Big Bad Boo Studios accept pitches, and what are you looking for? Well, thank you for that question. We do accept pitches. We look for preschool 6 to 9 in all genres and formats in terms of like live action, 2D, 3D animation, and we take them, like everyone else at conferences, through submissions, and through online meetings where we're happy to take pitches from the outside. So yes, and thank you. Question number 7 is from Lara. She says, would the IP source need to be Canadian? What if the writer has produced it as a musical in New York, but there would be a Canadian production company that would be developing it in Canada? This would be developed as a 2D, 3D animation or live action with hosts for possible preschoolers to early grade. Who wants to take this? I feel like Marie should take this.
Yeah, I mean, we will look at it and let you know if the American origin of it is a barrier. If the actual we develop shows lots of times where the original IP is not Canadian. So I would say the best way to do it would be to submit to us.
Yeah.
Submit it to us at kidspitch at cbc.ca, and we'll have a look at it and let you know.
Yeah. And I just want to add to that for Laura that typically when you have an American IP that is wanting to get Canadian funding, that IP needs to be moved into a Canadian company. And if the person who created it is taking credit for what they've done as one of what are the point systems in Canada, that may disqualify the project for certain funding from CMF or other funding organizations. In Canada, we have loads of different types of funding organizations. We have regional, we have tax credit systems, we have the Canadian Media Fund, the Shaw Rocket Fund, the Bell Fund. So depending on what it is, you'd have to look at, what you might have to do. If you wanted 100% Canadian funding, you'd have to think about that, that US person, because that might throw you offside. I hope that helps to clarify that a little bit. Next question is for Erica. You mentioned that it starts with an option agreement. What if the creator is also a producer with a company that has already received pre-development funding? How do you go about that? Oh, I love this one.
We would have to look at what that pre-development funding looks like and what the obligations are and whether we can work with those terms or not. So that's where we would start.
Yeah. And maybe it's CMF pre-development funding, in which case I think it's pretty straightforward. But again, like Erica said, they would have to look at what that is made up of and what the previous agreements are. Our next question is, what are the markets where we can meet you in person? For instance, are you going to MIFA Annecy in June to acquire kids' content? Yeah, let's go around and tell everybody where you guys go to meet people, other than Kidscreen and MIPCOM, which we already mentioned. Erica, let's start with you.
Another event would be Content Canada, TIFF, any of those industry events, WIFT events as well. Those are
Great.
all places.
Those are all good ones, Canadian ones. Kirsten?
I wish I was going to Annecy, but I am not. But I will be at Banff this year. So if anybody is going, do reach out and I'm happy to meet there. The YMA is also a good organization to look into. They do have some events in a variety of cities across Canada, usually Toronto and Montreal. And that's it, other than Kidscreen and MIPCOM. Those are really the big ones.
Yeah, great. Katie?
Yes, I wish I was going to Annecy as well. But no, I think the ladies covered all of them. I was going to mention Taffy as well, which has an animation focus, and the Ottawa Animation Festival.
Ottawa's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, Ottawa's a great one as well. So I mean, Kirsty had said something like it's financially, a lot of money to expect, especially a producer that's just new to the business to go to a lot of these. So that's why we're really open. It sounds like everyone here is really open to taking pitches, because it can be a financial drain, but they're great opportunities to meet people face to face for sure.
Absolutely. Marie, everybody wants to know, how do we get updates on the CBC Kids Open House in June? That's the big secret just for this group.
Okay,
Everybody
just a
wants
secret
to
just for
know.
the group. Well, maybe we can do, I don't know if this was an invite. I think we're going to use Eventbrite as well.
Okay.
So we could probably, if you're interested, if you don't mind the spam, we'll send you an e-blast.
Yeah, we'll make
I
that
kind of
happen.
know the people who ran this thing, and I bet you they would share the email list.
That's a
if you are
wonderful
okay with that.
answer. That's a wonderful answer. If I'm not mistaken, I need to wrap this up. So maybe I can do one more question. The next question is, do you mind if people reach out to you via LinkedIn? Oh, we still have time. Okay, good. And I want to add on to this question, which is something I didn't get to, which is kind of the etiquette of how people reach out to you. Some people like to be reached out to a certain way. Talk to us about what are the ways you like to be reached out to, include LinkedIn in your answer. And then what are the absolute no-nos? Tell me about the no-nos. Marie, let's start with you.
Thank you. Well, I'm just starting to sort of turn my attention back to LinkedIn. I had an account there and I wasn't really on it. And I'm realizing that it really looks like there's a lot of cool things happening there
I
now.
love LinkedIn.
Yeah. So a no-no would be through Facebook, or through Instagram, like my personal accounts. Like, no, unless, unless we know each other already, or have a common interest outside of kids media, right? So,
Yeah.
I think
Or if you're at dinner and somebody interrupts your dinner, or you're in the middle of dinner and somebody just walks into the restaurant and starts pitching you, that would be another
that
no-no,
never
right?
happens to me. Does that
Sure
happen
it
to you
does.
a lot, Shabnam? No, I would say like in the washroom at Kids Screen. Like that's the
This is
one.
what I want to hear. I love
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it's such a cliche. It does happen. But you know what? At the end of the day, like this is our job. And I would say it's best if you reach out on LinkedIn. Ultimately, I'm gonna try to redirect you to Kids Pitch or to my my CBC email. Those are really sort of the best ways to reach out. But yes, I'm working on my LinkedIn, but if you send a note and it takes a long time, it's just me being like really bad at LinkedIn, but
I
I'm
totally
working on
get
it, I
that.
promise.
Katie, what about you?
I'm laughing because I'm the same, Marie. I want to say that I'm really savvy on LinkedIn and but I'm not. I love it. I think it's great. I'm just really slow to check it. So yeah, I mean similar. I think all the things you mentioned, the way I approach it is I love kids content. I mean that's my jam. So I understand when people are passionate, enthusiastic and want to get an idea out there, but I think for me it's sort of I always advise people, what would you not like? How would you like someone to approach you? And that's the best way I think you should handle it. Like, I love kids content, but I also love dinner. So maybe don't interrupt me while I'm having my dinner. So yeah, I mean, with the LinkedIn piece, if someone did reach out or over Instagram, I would still redirect them to our general email just because that's the right process and it's going to guarantee that it's going to be seen. Where sometimes if
Yeah,
you do
that's a
different
really good point.
avenues, yeah.
Yeah, most of these companies have a process and it's best for you to follow that process and not try to get into their inboxes in other platforms and places because they'll either not get to it or they'll be like, oh, I've already seen this person and they've emailed me and they Facebooked me and now they're linking me in, doing it in LinkedIn and then it gets a little bit annoying, I think. But I want to hear from Kirsten about this.
So LinkedIn, I do look at every once in a while. Again, it may take me a few days to get back to people, but I do generally just happy to give out my email address and people can reach me through that. And I was going to say there's I think a rule of thumb is if you're at the airport on the way to MIPCOM, that's fair game, not at Frankfurt and 4 o'clock in the morning when we've just gotten off a 7-hour flight and we're in transit, or not sitting next to me on the flight to Nice. I have had that happen. No, anyway, I'm mostly joking.
Right.
I will talk to anybody anytime, but yeah, there's better times, let's just say, to talk about your show. Always happy to say hi, but if it's like a real full-on pitch, 3 o'clock in the morning is not the time to do that.
Yeah, and think of it this way, like if the person you're pitching to is in a good mood, they're more likely to say, yes, I want to continue the conversation than if you've caught them in an awkward moment, whether it's in the bathroom or at dinner or in an airplane or when they've just landed after a 12-hour flight. So just think about, would you like to be pitched in that moment? Put yourself in their shoes. Erica, what about you?
Yeah, same. Definitely not personal socials. LinkedIn is fine. It might take a little while to respond, but one thing about LinkedIn, like that's a no-no for me, is like, please do not upload your pitch to my LinkedIn mailbox. There's a process to submitting pitches, and it should go through the submission email.
Yeah, perfect. That's what we're hearing from everybody. So I hope that message sticks. A question here that I would like to jump to only because I think it's very valuable is, what are 3 things that will make a pitch stand out? I feel like we haven't talked enough about the pitch. Erica, while I have you, what are the things that you think will make a pitch stand out?
Okay, I answered this one in the Q&A, so I'm just going to read what I wrote. So what makes a good pitch for me is originality, inventiveness, wow factor, that it's clear, it's easy to understand, you can see it when it's described, and the audience needs are met, and the concept is also feasible. Like nothing on,
Wonderful.
in space, for example.
Yeah, it's doable. We can actually make it happen.
Yes.
Right. Katie, what about you?
Okay, all of the above, but also back to my point about reading the room. If it fits something we're looking for at the moment and what we're really focused on and what we need for our slate, it's going to put you right at the top. And if you do a little research about, our channels and our content and our slate, that's going to give you a leg up. And also, if it should be, you should be able to describe it in a sentence or two. And if I can get it from that, then you know that it's a really well thought out idea. You don't need to be crazy
Okay.
fancy with a 80-page expensive Bible. A good idea should fit in 2 sentences and come across.
Yeah, absolutely. Kirsten, let's hear from you.
Sorry. I think, really a unique idea, especially in the unscripted space. We're always looking for different perspectives or maybe an idea that we hadn't thought about before. And then on the animation side, for us, education is sort of at the heart of everything that we do. So does it have a very clear curriculum, or is it following a very clear portion of the curriculum for us? And, does it also have a unique look? I think we're looking for things that will stand out in a very sort of crowded marketplace.
And Marie, how about you?
Learning so much from my esteemed colleagues. It's just all this stuff is absolutely true. I would say 2 things about the content itself. In terms of knowing, what we're having, I'll give you a phrase. Don't give me what I've asked for, give me what I need. Being able to see, and people are using this term white space, imagining what is not there yet, imagining what we need, what the audience needs. And I think it just encapsulates everything that everybody here just said, but it's that thing that hasn't been yet. I think that's what we mean when we say unique. And the second thing, and I think Erica has said this as well, I'm just going to kind of repeat it. It's about how you're pitching, your passion. You embody your project. You really believe it. And I think there's this magic thing that happens in a great pitch where someone transfers the project into the person who's receiving the pitch. They see it. It actually starts becoming their project too. And I think that's a magical thing. I don't mean fairies and rainbows magic. I just mean, the work that we're doing. If you can get the broadcaster to imagine it, then I think you'll engage them.
And what a great note to end on. I want everybody to know we have over 52 questions logged, and we got through about, I want to say, 12 of them. So we did okay because everybody had to answer. And I want to thank the audience for all these questions and the lively session that we've had. We unfortunately are running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for us. Thank you again to all of my panelists for talking to us about how to pitch kids' content. We would also like to thank the planning partners, CMPA and CAVCO, for their continued support on the One Stop series. We hope you as our audience found this session useful and that you'll be able to join us at another One Stop business workshop. Our next session is tomorrow. We will send out follow-up emails, which will include a document with today's takeaways and a link to CBC's independent production website, where you can watch previous One Stop Business Workshop videos. There will also be an evaluation form, so it'd be great if you could fill it out so we can learn from you about how to better give you information in the future, stuff that you need and stuff that you want. Thank you again, and have a great day.